What if your next 100 deals are already in your phone? They're already in your pipeline. They're not strangers. They're not cold leads you have to get out there and chase. These are your people. They're already within your network. The folks that you might bump into at the hockey rink, the ones you grab beers with, the families that you neighbor with and know. And if you treat them a little differently, you treat them right, those people will introduce you to more of your own people, their people, which become yours. And that's the power of becoming a revenue for life agent. And today in this episode, I'm going to be showing you how to exactly do that. All right, everybody, welcome back to another Re-Education Experience podcast with me, your host, Darren Langille. As always, this is another solo episode. And we're in another series like we started last week. We're in the middle of a series unpacking those 5 realtor avatars that I've brought up in the 7 C's. These are 5 different businesses. They're different business identities that let you build your business by design and no longer by default, which I know many of you are doing. Last episode, you guys, we explored listing domination. This time, we're flipping the script a little bit. We're talking about a model that might become the most predictable of them all, if you do this right. Revenue for life. This is the avatar for agents who believe that relationships matter, that relationships are their trump card. These are the who value friendships. These are the who love serving people they know versus chasing cold leads. And there's nothing wrong with that, but this is more in their core. And when you treat this like a business, this model creates the most reliable, consistent, and an incredibly high ROI real estate career that you can have. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to tie it back to everything that we've been building on. So hopefully, as you've come across this podcast, you've started to pick up some of the base layers. You built the base to your future Parthenon and empire, that when I refer back to a few frameworks that we've talked about, they do feel like you know them a little bit, and that you can go back if you need to, because everything is labeled so well throughout the podcast shows. And when I speak about this, if you're new to the show, this goes back at the beginning of episode 84, where I really started to change the way I teach here on these solo episodes and give you incredibly tactical breakthroughs so that you can take and run with it. So this is what we're going to do. In the core 4, when we talked about Alex Hormozi's core 4, but I flipped it for real estate, there was one bucket here. This was called the active warm bucket. And this is where the revenue for life agent lives. This is reaching out to people that already know us and we know. The second part of the core 4 that does relate to the revenue for life agent is this exact second part below here. This is the passive warm bucket. And both of these people are speaking either one-to-one or one-to-many to the people that know us or have relationships with us and we know. And this is where we play. Now in the plus 4 bucket, which is another episode that we talked about, once your clients, your sphere becomes somebody who's experienced your service, these are now your clients, right? And this bucket alone has a different vibe now. They have now gone through the journey with you. And in the plus 4, this also relates to the revenue for lifer, which means if you think about this, of the 4 ways you can go out and create business, and then the 4 ways others can do it for you, there's only 3 buckets that the real revenue for life agent has to sit in. It's a very simple business model, and it's why the ROI is so strong. And underneath this, we're going to unpack this today. I have created an episode about the success triangle. We're going to unpack this once again. I also brought this up in the Every Realtor's Plan. But when we talk about a revenue for life agent, we cannot ignore the power that comes from the success triangle and using it right in this world. All right, let's flip over to why this conversation matters and why I'm framing it this so much, right? What we know is that most agents who get in this business, they will get some success with people that they know, right? There's not an agent on the planet that I know of that has only ever generated their business through cold outreach and cold leads, right? It's because of this, though, most agents use the word dabble, if I were to follow their business plan and they're trying to increase their sphere of influence business, they dabble here. They get a few referrals, they get a client or two, and then they think I've got this covered. But then it never truly feels like a business. Dabbling in this model, this revenue for life one, leaves money on the table. And more importantly, it leaves a ton of the influence that you're building to the wayside. A true revenue for life agent, you guys, treats their SOI, their sphere of influence, as their number one asset. It's their gold mine. They narrow in on that. It's the bullseye. It's if you're trying to shoot and trying to figure out how I'm going to tackle this business, this is your SOI. And this continues to be looked on day in, day out. This is what, if I followed your calendar, I would see you're trying to attack. So the reality is, with the right cadence of efforts and a well-managed SOI, you can produce this infamous rule that's been talked about for a long time called the 10% rule. The 10% rule is that if your list is well managed, meaning people are hearing about you and you're not going ghost, that 10% of that list can turn to business every year. Now that's a big number. Think about this while you're listening. If your list is 100 people, that's 10 deals. If your list is 200 people, that's 20 deals. If your list is 500 people, that's 50 deals. If your list is 1,000 people, that's 100 deals. And guess what? You're inside the 0.05% of the industry. It's an incredible set of numbers, but this doesn't happen by dabbling, friends. This is happening with taking this avatar, understanding that you're the relationship type person. And you would have to ask yourself a little bit, like, am I faking this or is this just natural to me? I know throughout my career, I didn't really believe this was my model. I care for folks, but it isn't the thing that drives all of my relationships. If I look at the Tony Robbins disc profile, I'm not the one that sits in the S's and the C's too often. I'm in the D's and the I's. I'm a high driver. And that doesn't land so much for those in the relationship bucket, right? If I ask all of my friends that have known me for 10 years, will they say Darren always reaches out? Darren's the guy that's there for me. No, they won't. If I'm there with them, they know my presence is there. But I'm not the one that's given the big warm hug all of the time. And I say that and I share that with vulnerability because I knew that wasn't my world. So I had to create a system around it, and that's part of what this is, right? So as you can see, there's multiple 6 figures, even 7 figures, friends, without spending massive money on ads and chasing leads and doing things that are kind of outside of your wheelhouse. And the ROI is by far, the return on your investment is by far the highest of all the avatars. There's not even one that will come close because you don't need a lot of money to drive your income. You just need a lot of effort and time. All right, so let's talk about the what here. How do we make this work? How do we turn from dabbling into revenue for life? And I want us to think about, I kind of broke it down into 4 principles for us that we can unpack. And then of course, after this episode, I want you to go back, listen through this and ask yourself the questions I'm asking you. I want you to build upon this stuff. So principle number 1 might sound simple, but it's not, right? This is treating it like a business, right? This has to be the thing that gets tattooed on your forehead, which means a couple things. No more random calls when you just feel like it. No more hoping referrals just roll in. You need to have a CRM. You need to have a plan. You need to build out a cadence of touches and a system to stick to. So this is step number 1, is we need to go from dabble to random, right, from random over to treating it like a business. I run a property management business as well. It's cyclical. When the tenant rent roll comes in, we do X thing. The operations team comes in and processes rent, finds out who's delinquent, then sends the money off to their clients after invoices have come in. And there's a sequence that happens all the time. Every 30 days, it's a new rhythm. We just keep following, rinse and repeat. Well, that's a business, right? When Amazon gets your order, it processes through things. There's a whole bunch of things triaged, sorted. The item you wanted is found somewhere on the planet. What's the quickest path to your marketplace? And all of the same thing happens. That's a business, right? When you order a t-shirt online at your favorite store that came across Instagram, there's a process workflow. And this is what a business feels like versus how we typically run ours. Okay, principle number 2, everybody is your SOI. Now, I say this because from experience of the last 20 years, many people, when I first talk about database, they say, yes, I've been putting my clients into my CRM. I say, well, how many homes have you sold? I've sold 10 this year and 20 last year and 15 the year before and 20. And okay, so you got 100 clients in your database. But that is not their complete SOI. They have only treated their SOI as those that have experienced their service, right? It's not just past clients. It's not, of course, just the family that you did choose to put in there. It is those hockey parents. It is the dog park crew. It is your online community of friends. Everybody you know and everyone that they know belongs in your sphere. And this is a massive shift for you because it opens up the world of how many people you've connected to that you have seen as kind of outsiders to your sphere that now need to be pulled into it. We're going to talk about how to do that. Principle number 3, friends, is we need to be bi-directional. Be bi-directional. All right. What do I mean by this? Traditionally, you and I would meet each other in person, right? And then over time, we'd build a relationship after we've seen each other a few times, and I might get your phone number or I might get your email, right? And this would be typical of a traditional marketer out there door knocking or at open houses or meeting in their community. And we translate this traditional world, this rubbing shoulders with people, to a digital focus, right? And then we would have the digital info, which can invite them to come back to traditional, right? Makes sense, right? But bi-directional is much more than just that. We are now meeting so many people online, right? So our goal has to be taking them from the cloud and turning them into a coffee, taking them from a DM and moving them to a lunch, right? This is the part of the bi-directional side of the business that so many agents don't play with because they believe it's difficult. It's very easy to create an online relationship. And if we build rapport just as we would at a dinner party, right, it makes sense that we would want to stay connected. We would take the relationship to a digital format. Hey, let me get your email so I can send you something. Well, why are we stuck socially and not pulling those things offline or at least into a digital format, right? Take an event, extend it online, right? Take a DM, drive it to a coffee. And that's how we weave together this web of connection. And number 4 is maintenance is required. None of this stuff in the Revenue for Life agent, because it's relationship first and focused, is a set and forget, right? You need to have consistent messages, the right message to the right groups, because you're meeting the dog parkers and the walkers and the triathletes and the volleyball parents and the this and that, right? You need to have a right message to the right groups that you send out over time. You need to build those rapport, and only you have that personal, authentic connection with them. So if that is your bucket, if that fills you, it's pretty easy to stay connected and to have those personal touches, right? And it's these overarching platforms like social and digital and hosting big events that can get your message to more people when everybody needs to be brought in together, right? So the Revenue for Lifer, knowing if this is for you, this is just part of your DNA. You enjoy doing these elements. You enjoy this part. It feels way better than trying to build a cold lead relationship and door knocking here in the -10s, all right? And one key I want to share with everybody among these 4 principles, no matter where you meet somebody in the agent cycle of life, right? And I've talked about this so many times, right? Along the seed to the nurture, in the harvest, and in the regrowth, right? We've got the agent cycle of life. And I can't even write. If you seed and are having early conversations, these are sphere, right? You're going to move the relationship needle down over time. If you've nurtured a lead for years and you haven't converted them to a client yet, but then they come out, right? These people should still have always been treated as your sphere, not only once you sold them. In the harvest, you meet new people all the time through the buying and selling process, and especially if you market well as a listing agent. They are sphere. They don't need to become clients to be treated as such, right? In the regrowth phase, this is all about starting new opportunities, right? Well, these aren't just leads, friends. These aren't just people I can contact. I want you to think about them. These are all generating SOI for you. All right, let's talk about some hows. Step number one, which is the one that when I coach people one-on-one that have built a relationship with folks and have been around this planet for a little bit, and I ask them how many people they know, how many groups they're a part of, where do they keep their contacts. And for all of us, whether it's on our phones, on our desktops, on our a notepad, if it's in a binder because that's where you put your business cards, we know a lot of people. But step one is to count and categorize. And this is a little bit daunting. Feels like you're stepping back to speed up, but not to speed up because you don't believe me yet. But this is basically the major task. The revenue for lifer needs to know where all these people are and needs to know how can I reach these folks. So you need to export your phone. You need to export all of your emails, your past emails, into a simple Google Sheet. You got to take everybody, you got to put it across. You got to put tabs in there as a Google Sheet for first name, last name, for cell, email, for spouse's name, cell, email, address, source of lead. Where do you know them? You need to get all of this on this beautiful spreadsheet that you're thinking, Darren, you're crazy. But the reality is, this is key to driving this forward. And then we go further. We need a tab, not a tab, but a column for are you connected? On Facebook, one column. Instagram, one column. LinkedIn, one column. And this is a critical step because remember we said we tried to go bi-directional here. We need to get people out of the digital space into the traditional space and vice versa. If you're here, you will end up looking at something that looks like this, you guys. It'll look like a giant flippin' bingo card. It'll almost look endless. But the beautiful part about bingo is that every one of these squares is an opportunity. And in bingo, your job is trying to connect the dots and fill this thing up over time. Your job is to try to create lines within folks. And this is what I want you to think about. Your task as a revenue for lifer is having this giant bingo card of opportunity, right? Maybe you have their contact info, but are not yet connected on social. And that's a huge a huge opportunity to say, oh, I got his email, right? You go search on Facebook, you find him. You find out he's married, you find out things. You drop him a friend request, you like a few of their posts, you make a few comments that are personal because you know them, and you drop them a DM to say, I can't believe we weren't connected already. And you do this, right? And you find them, and you can imagine what will happen over time, right? Maybe you have all the contacts and you're connected also on social, but you don't know where they live. Well, if you're connected on social, you have their contacts, they're in your sphere, right? Ensure you have rapport first, and then ask them naturally after some rapport and conversations, and you see them making some posts about their kids. Hey, so where do you live anyways, Johnny? Right? I don't know if this is of interest to you, but I host a couple little gatherings a year, and I'd love to invite you. And I don't do these by email because they get lost. I send little personal messages into the mailbox. So, Johnny, what's your address? I'll happily get you in there. I don't want you to miss this. It's going to be super fun, right? Maybe you have a first and a last name, but no contact, right? No contact yet, but you remember you met John Smith at the open house or at the networking event. You're like, John Smith is also a plumber. And oh my gosh, that's all I know, but I can go find him, right? And you can, right? You can do this and you can build that direction. So the goal is over time to fill up the contact card, right? As old school as the spreadsheet is, at least it's a place that you can visually see. So as I'm looking on my paper right now, and I'm looking at Johnny here, if I saw that he didn't have this space, this space, this space, well now, guess what? In my prospecting time, I'm gonna be like, all right, John, it's time to go find you. It's time to connect with you and to learn more about you. And why do you do this? Because you care, because you're a Revenue for Life agent, right? Revenue for Life agents can spend their whole business career simply filling out this bingo card, connecting folks in authentic ways. And then to be honest, these folks, they have a blast doing it. It's so much fun. And of course, when you get to a point here, we do want you to translate this stuff because it's easy to import this stuff out of Google Sheets and drop it into your favorite CRM so that you can get them in there, make notes, and have a more robust system. But once you load them in to your CRM, this visibility about all of these things missing for Sally, and then in this grid format, is lost. Once they're in the CRM, you see their names, but you got to click into them and then you get to see what's missing. I do love keeping the high level stuff here so you know your attack points, especially when you're first trying to pull your list together. All right, friends, I think you get a sense for that. I hope you want to take the work on, because there's really no more important thing than step 1. Step 2 would be this, though, to build a true cadence using the success triangle, right? So a cadence of touches and efforts, right? A cadence of touches and efforts. When you've done the work in step 1, you're most likely to have a really robust, multi-dimensional contact list now, right? Because when you've got John, you have multiple ways to get a hold of John because you did the work in step 1. With that gives you the extra modalities to work and create the success triangle from digital, social. And you can imagine when I have a big list of cell phones, if I have a big list of emails, if I have a big list of addresses, if I have a big list of people on Instagram, if I have a big people on Facebook, you know that you have more opportunities to make reach outs, right? To continue building that relationships, right? And I say this, right? It's ways to get in their voicemail inbox, ways to get in their cell phone text messages, ways to get into their actual emails, ways to get to their physical mailbox and into their social feeds and DMs. And that's what the success triangle breeds. But without step 1, you have no choice. You're going to never get there, right? And this is where the success triangle really comes to life for those that adopt this. And it continues to be those aha moments to say, man, I didn't realize this business was so easy, right? So step 2 now is that creating your MVP. And you've heard me talk about this before, and it's that minimum viable product, right? Minimum viable product. We've talked about this inside of the Every Realtor's Plan, where you're setting up things to be like the baseline, the minimum touches I do that I can keep up with. But I'm going to tell you that the MVP, the word minimum for those that are playing revenue for life, isn't really the thing they're looking for, right? The minimum, the minimum is not what they're after, right? Because they're building relationship. It's actually their everything. And that's the difference. A little more robust than maybe the typical listing dominant agent would have, because it's truly the engine behind their sphere business, right? Now, just like a triangle would be, if this was a stool, right? If this was a stool and it was I don't know if I can draw a 3D stool, but if we've got a leg here and we got a leg here and we got a leg here, and if we turned out that one was cut off, this poor stool is going to fall over pretty quickly, isn't it? Right? Or if 2 are really good and this one's shorter, you're going to be like sitting a bit awkward on that chair. And that's where I want us to make sure that it's like the success triangle is about giving a big warm hug across multiple mediums so that the tripod does stay, the stool does stand, the relationship is there for life. And here's some quick examples. I've already covered this again, but when you're thinking of traditional means, right, the trad, right, these are in person. This could be things just like, if you have the cell, you can set up a schedule to call them, to text them, to voice note them, to video call them, right? You can set up a step to write handwritten notes, whether it's to their office or to their home, right? Times that you want to remind them of things, right? And those are things like anniversaries or things coming up that you're hosting. You can do the same with pop-bys and small mini gifting because you have their addresses and you've built this warm hug, right? Whether you've sold the home or not, here's a quick tip. If you learn where they live, because most of the people in your sphere are not the people that you've sold, right? But once you learn where they live, guess what? You can just go onto the MLS system. You can pull up the last time they sold. You can find the home's anniversary date, and you can remind them of that next year. And they will be blown away because they didn't even hire you as their realtor. Okay. Digitally, right? If we talk about a couple options for you is, again, we want to set up, we need to have a monthly newsletter that's at least coming every 2 weeks. It's about your town, it's about the city, it's about what's happening, about the latest restaurants, about the latest fun things for the kids, right? Part of it's a market update, you guys. I've preached this many times. Sometimes it's a deal that's going on that you've seen. Maybe it's a really unique story that you had from a sale and you overcame, so you can share that stuff, right? There's so many things that we need, right? These can be simple and they can be complex because some of us are like data people and our people are data people. And there's friends of mine that create incredible YouTube videos and they're deep, they're 15, 20 minutes long, and their people love that. There's also people that will do a 1-minute Instagram story and that'll be their market update, but then they'll reference it in the emails. So I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying what you know your own marketplace. Also think with digital things that we forget about is how many people do you know in your big warm hug want to buy something else in time? They're not hiring you today, but they're in rapport with you, and you know they want to live on a house on the ridge. They want a house in the lake. They want a place just outside the city. They would love an acreage. They want a downtown condo because they're downsizing. I call these the dream home buyer searches. And those in your big warm hug, you should know this stuff. These are great ways to find out, could I get you on a search? Because I know life's changing. The kids have just moved out. Are you looking for a different home? Can I set you up on a search so you can just see what is going on? Right? Do they have investment properties? Would they want updates to the community? Right? Are they looking to buy more? Right? These are all things that the digital focus can be done. Socially, right? You need to find your cadence with your output, right? And I'm not going to go into that, but that's just your one-to-many output. How many posts are you going to make, and mixing your life together with your business and micro value. And that's the STAB approach that I've taught many times: selling, teaching, and, which is you are a realtor, and behind the scenes. It's just finding your cadence, because the social format is great for one-to-many, but it's also great for one-on-ones, right? Because you're a revenue for lifer, posting and ghosting is not your play. It's about a daily post schedule, but it's also about DMs, touch points, comments, liking, and being present in their world, right? Social has become the CRM of sorts for many of the revenue for lifers. And this brings us over now to step number 3, which I'm calling use of warm outreach scripts, or just messages if you don't like the word scripts. See, because the success triangle is in effect, you are in rapport. These are people, these are your people, and you've been bringing them value, and you've been showing consistently for a while. Now you've earned the right, you guys, to ask some simple things as the seasons of their life and the seasons of the world suggest. Things that are changing in our market. Because you've brought them into the big warm hug, you can ask them things if they need your help. Homeowner equity reviews at the beginning of your year. Why don't you just make it an annual thing that the people are expecting and looking forward to? These are your people, remember, these are not cold. For your investor clients, same thing, right? It doesn't have to be just about their principal residence. Are you looking for more good deals? You can ask that. You can be direct because you've earned the right? Do you know somebody else I should be talking to? Yes, the people that like, trust, and stay in your world can be asked that from time to time. Hey, Johnny, I noticed you haven't sent me a referral for a while. Why is that? And you can laugh that off, okay? So we've come so far at this point that this should not feel forced. These should feel natural. They should be an extension because they trust you, they like you, and they're in your world. They should be welcomed. This is your business model after all, right? People in connection and furthering them. So with that, I'll take us to the final step, which I call, again, it leads up and it's part of all this, to manufacture moments. Manufacture moments. We don't want to wait for luck, which means for the phone to ring. We don't want to, we need to find ways to push ourselves to create reasons to connect. So if the success trial is running, you're using the warm outreach, right? We have unique plays that as you expand and get more into your advanced plan, you can tackle. This would be, again, you can get into their birthdays. They're not hard to find. The kids' milestones, the promotionary stuff around seasonal tips, and even small, intimate client events. I had Glenda Baker, she's a Sphere of Influence master, years ago on the podcast in one of the first couple episodes. And I mean, the depth for which Glenda has gone shows that there's no stone unturned in her model, that when you go through the success trial, when you create the warm outreach, when you have the big warm hug happening, you can manufacture really unique highlight moments that are memorable because you've just learned so much. You know their dog was sick, so you can send them something. You know that their child just had their 18th birthday and you wanted to send something special in the mail that would be above and beyond. You could only do this if you're a Revenue for Life agent, and we've gone through steps 1, 2, 3, right? So among your touch points with the success triangle, find ways that are authentic to you, add it into your rhythm, and even make it sometimes annual things or semi-annual things where you're challenging yourself to find a bit of a rhythm around it so it doesn't feel fully random, right? This final step is one that I believe that when people truly master it, that life in this business gets so much easier and so much funner over time, right? It's is a really neat mission to set yourself off to say that, like, it's when they think real estate, they think of you. Not just when they think of you, they think of real estate. And it's because you've got this mission, number one, achieved. Now, the last part of this, guys, is step 5. And this isn't, I'm just going to call it regrowth, because you guys understand that. Every win should fuel more wins, right? You know that. In regrowth, I teach there's 2 duties. One is with the client, and one is with the win itself, meaning the sold asset that just happened. Right? This means you have opportunity with your sphere that has now experienced your service. They've gone to another level with you. They're not just only fans, right? Meaning fans of you, right? But they are fans who now know how good you are, and they should be turned into raving fans, not just only fans because of your personality. So things in the regrowth phase, you might not want to go chase cold leads with the sold asset. But remember, you have a duty to the client, because they've just experienced you. Just sold campaigns that speak from the heart. Why this mattered to them? What troubles did you overcome? Why, right? Could they get doing video testimonials to highlight the journey? Could you get a true testimonial on video with these clients versus a cold lead you met door knocking? Very likely, yes, because you've got this emotional connection, which means you can create emotional flair in your otherwise boring just sold post, or your standard Google review request, right? Neighborhood mailers sharing the positive experience and the great new client you just brought to the community, because you know them, you know how great they are, and you can share parts of this to maybe have a message that matters in the neighborhood and introduce them to a great new friend, right? So let me hammer a couple myths that I always get when I preach this to folks. And myth number 1 is, I already get referrals, guys. I don't need a system. It just continues to come in. The answer might be, maybe. But the truth is, I believe that goodwill fades without intentional effort, especially in today's very noisy world, right? It's relentless, right? I believe relationships need maintenance, and I think those referrals will dry up if you don't put something into practice. Myth number 2 would be, social media is enough, because I know a lot of us are spending a lot of time on social. But I think the truth here is that likes and reach don't always equal closings. Social is just one corner of the triangle. You need traditional and digital too. So those of you that are stuck on social, I challenge you to listen to this hard, to say, I might be leaving money on the table because I'm not willing to yet pull them offline. And myth number 3, this just seems like too much work, right? Well, it's actually less work to get this up and running, to create your MVP, to roll into this, than cold prospecting, to take them from obscurity to a place where they were willing to be in your big warm hug. And it pays off a lot more. I can't help but I just was at Costco this weekend, right? Real world analogy time here for you. The biggest companies in the world thrive on this revenue for life strategy. They know that the customer acquisition cost of brand new is way higher than if we just go work with who we've got. Costco memberships, predictable recurring business because people feel like insiders. Right? Apple's ecosystem. I got Apple everywhere. Once you're in, you're in. There's no way you're leaving, right? You got the iPhone, the iMac, the iCloud, the AirPods, this, that, and everything, right? It reinforces how much you like the product. My daughter, she's a big Sephora girl now. Oh God, she's a beauty insider, I think they call it. Tiered loyalty, community events, personal recommendations. Again, I'm in there as a 10-year-old. I'm in there every other week, it seems. I'm like, why am I here? But they're so hooked. Dropbox is another one, right? Give, get referrals, right? We grow the Dropbox size by sharing it, right? And we all win. We both win, right? Anyways, if billion-dollar brands know this is the most profitable path, why wouldn't we build this into our businesses? So if I were to kind of cast a vision for you and maybe give you a call to action, imagine waking up every January, which I'm recording this on October 28th, knowing that 70 to 80% of your business is locked in. You don't know who's coming yet, but you know if you do this right, it's locked in. No stress about where the next deal's coming from. No thing you need to pivot to. You've built a flywheel of success that feeds itself. So here's your challenge. Audit your SOI today, right? How many real contacts do you have? And how many are you leaving outside of your SOI bucket that you need to spend that time with step 1 with the Google Sheet to get it done? And then go ahead and apply that 10% rule. Run the math. add your average sale price, your commission rate, and figure out what that is worth in dollars. And ask yourself, is this the business for me? And am I willing to chase that? And then I would suggest, if you're gonna micro step into this, right? Find your top 30 people, just people in your sphere, the ones that you know that you could pick up the phone and talk to comfortably. And think about, how can you create a hyper-targeted plan to show them that they matter? Add a little social, make sure it's digital, and find a way to get them in person too, right? This is how you build a business that doesn't rely on luck and trends and ads and the latest thing that's coming on your Instagram feed, friends. This is how you build a revenue for life business. And if you want to actually install this system, it's going to take time, but it's not that complicated, right? Inside of Rome, always, you can just go to reeducation.school. You'll see there's a worksheet from this format that you can work through. I walk you through all of this, but you just need to build this cadence and unpack this for you, because your people aren't just your past client relationships, they're all of them, and they are your future with the Revenue for Life agent. So in the weeks to come, we'll unpack the next 3. Hopefully this was eye-opening and you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Share with a friend.